Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Making sure that individuals are reaching the goals they have set for themselves. That's one of the many goals of Assured Health Services. If you're looking for a residential care provider or searching for ADS services, Assured Health is your go-to place. Assured Health, helping others succeed. Learn more at assuredhealthohio.com or call 419-442-8066. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Today we have the one and only Michele Myerholtz. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you on the podcast. Finally, we're here to talk about some things with the board, what's going on. But first, the question that we always want to know is, where did you get started in working in the IDD field? Because it's not a common path, but a lot of people love it to death. So why did you get started?
Well, so my father actually worked at the Wood County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and so when I was in high school, I actually volunteered at their summer day camp, and I loved it. I just loved it. I didn't stay. I did that a couple years. I got out of it. I did some other things when I graduated high school, and I kind of returned back into the field as a DSP, actually, upon moving back to the Bowling Green area to work on my master's degree at BGSU. And so I worked for Wood Lane Residential as a DSP. I started off doing I was a sub, so a contingency. I could work when it was convenient for me. I wasn't sure what it would be like to be going to school, working a master's program. And so I wanted to make sure I had that flexibility, and I absolutely loved it. And it just kind of grew from there. I became a home supervisor, and then kind of both of my parents actually worked my dad worked for Wood County Board of DD. My mom worked for Wood County in a different department. And so they both were like, oh, you need to, work it for the county and get into, this PERS retirement system. So, planning for the future, which is great. To those young folks out there, that is a good thing. So I was looking just at different positions, and ended up applying for a service and support specialist position with Lucas County Board of DD. And so then I got that position. I started in August of 2003, and they haven't. Here I am still. 20 plus years later. They did, yeah.
Well, I first off want to say, since that's close to around the time I started as well. I was a bus aide, and around 2004, I think I came in. So we've always crossed paths slightly. We've always seen each other around. So to see you grow as a professional and just as a person has been an honor. You are a great person, and I always want to give people their roses when possible.
Thank you.
Kudos to you.
Thank you. I feel the same about you, Tony.
Well, thank you.
I love seeing how you have grown, and just how Friends for Life has grown, and what you guys are doing, and just your passion and your love for the people.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because speaking of love, I love Michigan. Go Blue, national champs, baby. Sorry, I had to do that. But thank you. A lot like you, our stories are so similar, just, with family being in the board and all the opportunities through life. Did you ever dream, I would say it like this, that we will be in the position that we are as agencies to be able to now give people a wage that they can live on? I know that's kind of weird to say, but one of the big talks throughout the agency world and DSPs and everything is the rate increase. And shout outs to all the people who helped put that together, because it was definitely needed. But did you ever think it'd get like that, or did you ever think that we would just stay in this forever fight for $9-10 an hour?
I don't know what I knew it was necessary. And sometimes when our system is just so incredibly complicated,
yes.
The way that it works. And so I quite frankly don't know that I really, until I started getting into kind of the higher leadership roles at the board, I don't know that I really, to be honest, had a great understanding of, I'm not like I really don't like politics. And so I didn't get into those kind of weeds before until I started getting into the higher levels of leadership at the board to really understand how all of that works and how in order to make our system sustainable and make sure that we had DSPs that would provide care and good DSPs.
Yes.
That's what the people that we serve deserve, is good quality care. And so I don't know that I had the best understanding of how all of that would work and how it all the state, the legislature, and how all of us would really have to work together to make sure that would happen. So I'm so glad that we've gotten there. I'm so glad that the legislature recognized and supported that need. And of course, county boards, we all band together to also support,
yes.
to add to that. It's referenced as $1 an hour, but that's kind of what the amount of money equates to. If you will, the best way to kind of describe it was just to be able to say, well, we're contributing another $1 an hour, but it's really just about a certain kind of amount of money at a snapshot in time. And so I'm so glad that we were able to all work together for the betterment of our system so that the people that we support are the real winners in the end.
Yes.
Because they are going to be able to get the care. Providers are going to be sustainable so that they can get the care they need.
And just really fast, big shout out again to the county board for all of 2023, all of the extra help and assistance that was given from just payout after payout in retention or the 60 accredited hours, the $900 bonus that you get for just completing those things. And that's still going on, correct?
There are a few pieces. So that's our workforce sustainability incentive program that we actually started in 2022. And we continued it on in 2023. We're still doing it this year. It's changed a little bit because of the rate increases. We decided to change a little bit, and we're still, oh my gosh, I don't want to say this wrong. We're still doing I believe we're doing the BCI checks, supporting providers for those. We're still doing the student incentive, the tuition incentive, and then we're still doing, I believe, the training and the longevity. So we're not doing the halftime of the overtime in the nursing anymore because of the rate increases, but we're still doing some other pieces that we found are supporting of the majority of providers. And so that's something that we know that you guys still need support in those areas, and we're happy to still do that. But you're right, 2023 we ended up continuing, even though we were doing the retention payments through the state, of course, all county boards were doing that. We still chose to continue on with the Workforce Sustainability Incentive Program because we knew it was not time to stop that yet, because even though things were starting to get better, we didn't want to stop that.
Yeah.
And until we were helped providers through those weeds a little bit more and onto the other side. And not that it's fixed, and not that there's not still some struggles, but I'm hoping that we're now on the other side, especially now that the rate increases went into effect January 1st.
I hear that.
Well, I think something that you and I have in common is that we both hate politics. But something that I've learned over the years that's very much to my disappointment, I guess, is that if you want things to change, you essentially have to be involved in politics. And it's very much something that I have been falling into as well, because outside of what I do with Tony and Friends for Life, I also do I love wildlife conservation, and everything I said, it's if you want to get involved and you want to make change, you have to be politically involved, because that's where the change happens. That's where laws are made and stuff. So do you have any advice to people maybe that feel overwhelmed by politics and it's just so overwhelming, because politics is a big word that means a lot of things to a lot of people. How can someone get involved at a grassroots level maybe to give you guys support in what you're doing? Because a lot of organizations and boards are coming together to go to these things like legislature, which is also a terrifying word if you don't know anything about it. How do you get your average person involved? It's not part of their job. It's part of your job. You have to do it. But what about other people? How can they assist you or help? Because if we're all working towards the same goal, more people is going to be more support, and politically they get reelected off the support from their people. So it all comes together in the end.
I think one of the reasons why I don't like politics is just it's so polarizing, and it's always Republican versus Democrats, red versus blue. All this thing that's divisive, and I don't like that. And so one of the things that I've learned to try to focus on more is actually, because if you really think about it, I guess, the board. So we aren't a political entity. We are just an agency who exists to serve people with disabilities and help them reach their full potential. Political affiliation doesn't matter. And so from my perspective, I think of it as it's all about relationships. And you, regardless of whether you are a partisan entity or not, you have to have relationships with people in order to get things done, in order to be able to make a difference. And so that's the piece that I focus on, is how do I develop good relationships with people, with political figures, with heads of other agencies, with whoever, I need to have good relationships with, which really is probably everyone, So I guess that's kind of the outlook that I've tried to take. So that has helped me be able to really focus on how to make a difference. So I guess to circle back, this long answer to your question is just start forming relationships with people. Get out there and, if you're passionate about conservation, volunteering to pick up trash at the Metro Park, or just something that is making a difference. Maybe you start to try to form relationships with people. And so for us, to to help make a difference for the board, for the people that we serve, we have people that, certainly we have Special Olympics. We need volunteers, for Special Olympics and that kind of thing. But the best way that somebody can help us is by being, making a difference out in the community. When you see people with disabilities, just treat them like people. Because that's all. I don't want to say that's all they are, but you know what I mean? That's all they are. They're a person. They're a person just like us. They have dreams. They have desires. They have their strengths. They have their areas that they need to work on, just like any of the rest of us. And, we should. So March is DD Awareness Month, right? So one of the things that I would love to be able to do is it's DD Acceptance Month, maybe. And awareness is great, and I think that's probably the place where we're still at, is trying to help people be aware and understand. We're still at the probably educating our community about people with disabilities. They're just people too. But I would love to see us move into acceptance. When we see people out and about living their life, it's not, oh goodness, it's, hey, talk to them just like people. Accept them, bring them into your friend group, your book club, your whatever the case may be. That's how everyone in the community really can help support our mission at the board, is just start accepting people.
Yeah. And, it's the same anywhere you go. It doesn't matter what field it's in. These organizations, whether it's a, non-governmental organization or a county board, they will be able to function better if you support them with your time or your money or whatever you need.
Definitely your money, people. Give us the money.
Whatever resource you have available to you, helping support that organization is going to help them take the tough stuff off the bottom levels, so at the higher levels they can also go to legislature and I'm probably not going to go sit in Congress or something and start talking to these people, but there are organizations that pay people to do that, and they're supporting them is going to help. So I think what you said is right. At a base level, you have to raise awareness, you have to help people in the community, and that just works its way up the chain if more people are doing that. And it's hard. A lot of people, everybody feels like they're strapped for time, so donating time can be rough, but it's part of doing stuff at any level. You have to be able to give your time to help. So.
Yeah, and just like you said, doing things and seeing people in the community and just being a little extra more involved, I think it's one of my favorite things to do, is when I'm out just and about in the community and I see groups and the DSPs are doing right. So I'm always, hey, what company are you with? And I don't even introduce myself and who I am or anything like that. But then I go call that agency and I say, hey, I saw a group of your people out. They were doing amazing. And I encourage them, hey, maybe call a SSA too, or, just... what it's like to get calls nonstop about things going bad.
Yes.
That's 90% of our calls is fixing stuff.
Yeah.
So to have those gratitude moments, I think really helps change the mindset of, for one, our profession as DSPs. But then secondly, it's, again, giving those roses to keep a steady, career choice. If you're constantly being bombarded in your career that you're not doing it right and you're only getting in trouble, at some point you're going to say, why the hell do I do this? But I love doing that. But speaking of employment and stuff, how is the county board doing with employment? Are you guys still low on SSAs? Are you in need of some new workers?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
We are hiring SSAs. Actually, I just learned on Monday that we have we are at least as of right now, we have 4 new SSAs starting in February. So I'm super excited about that. I am honestly not sure where that puts us. I think that puts us probably at around 10 openings, which is more than I would like to have, certainly. But so we're not doing too bad, but I would definitely like to do better there. We'd love to have great people who really want to make a difference. And I myself did that job. I was an SSA for 7.5 years before moving into leadership roles. And I, I shouldn't say it that way. Before moving into a management role, because really, even SSAs are leaders.
Good point.
And so, I don't want to at all diminish or sound like I'm diminishing the role of an SSA, because they have such an important role, and any role can be a leader.
Yes.
Even if you're not technically responsible for people, supervising people, you can still be a leader, and so. Anyways, it's such an important job, and the difference that they make on a daily basis in the lives of people that we serve is, I know for me, that was so. That filled my cup. That made me. I loved my job. I still love my job, but I loved being an SSA. And even though it's been, oh my goodness. So in March of 2011 is when I went into a management role. And so it's been since March of 2011 since I've been an SSA. Man, time flies. And even though it has changed incredibly so since then, I don't pretend to know exactly what our current SSAs are going through or anything like that. I certainly the basics of the job are the same. You have to do case notes, you have to write ISPs, you have to keep people healthy and safe and authorized services. Those things, I had to do all those things too. But things have, always I think our system, as much as we like to think that we're simplifying it, it seems like it just keeps getting more complex. So
it's like you have a big, huge piece of paper and say, nope, we're going to fix it and change it. And you just give 20 little pieces of paper instead.
Right. And I, when you look at it, it's like there's things, as things change, like, oh, well, we'll just have the SSA do that. And we'll just have the SSA do that. And it's like, well, you can't just keep piling things on the SSA because they can't do literally everything.
Right.
And so we're fortunate in Lucas County to be big, a big county. So we serve a lot more individuals than, say, some of the smaller neighboring counties. So we're able to separate out some of those things and have some different specialty positions. But some of the smaller counties, the SSA does everything. They literally are the jack of all trades.
The Reliable Drug and Alcohol Testing Clinic is a leading provider and convenient source of pre-employment and occupational type testing. Their clinic provides services to a wide range of private businesses, healthcare facilities, and municipal and county courts. Reliable is an independent, locally owned clinic. As a result, they provide their services at a lower cost than the major hospitals, have faster turnaround times on test results, and eliminate the long waits typically incurred at these larger facilities. To learn more, visit reliabledrugtest.com.
I will contest to that. We also serve in Fulton County, and it's always interesting to see the difference between how the relationships are, and it's a little more intimate in Fulton County just because of the size. And like you said, MUIs and stuff are going through their SSAs. There's not just an MUI department. Their HRC is completely different in how it's operated. But it's always interesting to see, I guess, what people make themselves into when they become SSAs. I've had the luxury of working with the OG SSAs, and we had a lot of understanding. But then you get newer people who it was more of like it was almost a power struggle at first. And shout outs to you again on changing the culture of that. It wasn't this thing anymore that, you do what I say, you do what, and it made sense in the beginning why they did do that, because the culture of that was different. It was easier to use the stick versus the carrot. Interesting story, though, about being an SSA. And this even goes back to, I just saw a guy that I went to school with yesterday. And, we're both looking at each other. We can't really pinpoint it. And I was like, Rogers? He said, yep, that's it. And I looked back and I'm like, dude, that was 22 years ago. I've been out of school for that long. But I think the irony of that is I was asked to be an SSA at one point when I was working at another company. And I was so...
We are hiring.
I don't have the qualifications, and that's what I asked. I was like, look, I appreciate it. It feels great, but I don't have the qualification. I'm a high school dropout with a GED and 2 days worth of college. Again, I know that things are changing, that people are not always recognized on those kind of levels. But at the time, I knew that they would have looked at my resume and like, oh, yeah, he's good and everything, but no, thank you. And so I say all of that to say, with the culture shift and everything changing the way it is, the timing changing, are those kind of things still as important for SSAs to have in order to come in? Or is there maybe an accelerated program for someone might be fresh out of high school and they want to learn and be a social worker of some type with the county?
Well, so the 4-year degree is actually, in order to get an SSA certification, you have to have certain meet certain requirements, and that I actually think there is a way, and this has actually been a hot button topic within county boards across the state, that we've had a lot of conversation with our state association, OACB, about the requirements and the SSA rule, because there's always an Ohio Administrative Code or Ohio revised code that governs everything that we do as a county board, right, including the role of the SSA and the certification requirements. So SSAs have to have an SSA certification from the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. And so there has been the discussion around, can an SSA have an associate's degree? And if so, what does that mean? Because the certification, there's the certification rule, there's been some debate about the interpretation of that and what that exactly means. Because there's some language around, if they have an associate's, there's certain supervisory requirements of their supervisor and that kind of thing. And so that's something that, I have paid a bit of attention to that conversation. That's not something that I have honed in on to make sure that I can speak the most intelligibly about that at this moment in time. Just because that's not a conversation that we've been having yet here in Lucas. We did a little bit when we were, I think it was toward the end of the last half of 2022, we were down 22 SSAs. We were struggling. Yeah. And so we were starting to have some of those conversations of looking at the position description and the education and experience requirements, what what can we do?
Yeah.
What can we change to open it up maybe a little bit more? Because we know there's great, I mean, as much as I joked with you about, well, we're hiring Tony. I also wouldn't want to lose you in the provider world because of the great things that you do and that you're doing in the provider world. We need that. We need that.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at how could we open that up, and we did change the experience requirement, but the degree requirement, because there's been that debate about bachelor's versus associates and what that might mean, we have left that alone currently. So I know the world seems to be moving especially in the private sector, that a degree doesn't necessarily mean what it used to mean.
Correct.
Right? And a lot of companies, I think, have recognized that and are really focusing on, does the person have the character and the skills to learn?
Yeah.
In some jobs, obviously, you gonna have to have a degree.
Yeah.
But others, can they be taught what they need to know to do the job and do it really well? I do think with certain experience, potentially, the SSA role could be like that. I don't know what that would look like, but and at this point, it doesn't matter what I think about it, because that's not what the rule allows.
Yeah.
And so we would have to look at changing that and advocating with the state to change that.
Yeah, that'd be a big
in order
one.
to do that. And not that it couldn't be done, but that would definitely have to be a statewide conversation.
Well,
So.
Shout outs to that. And if it's anything that I could say, agency providers, especially if you're working with new SSAs and stuff, be helpful. I mean, it's okay. Some of these SSAs have caseloads of 50, 60 people at times, when you were down 22, I knew some of the things that my managers had to run out and do was not the things that they would typically do. But I also understood you guys were short, and it wasn't going to just be, it's not a team if we're sitting here and it's like, well, they don't do their jobs over there. Why can't this, I've been waiting for this ISP for 3 weeks. Come on, they're having the same hard times that we are having. So I'm a strong advocate, as you see, and as you know, Michelle, teamwork makes the dream work.
Right.
And it's not fair to anybody to just be bombarded with problems instead of, friendly team solutions.
So one of the things that, none of us like to deal with, but they're just a fact of life, is, as you said, the harder times. Did you learn anything productive from that stretch where you were down 22 SSAs? Because, they say, putting it through the fire is kind of where it's built. Did the organization as a whole kind of come out of that? I mean, I know you're not fully out of that hole yet, but I mean, is there anything you've learned along that way that's really helped the organization grow? Because without the hard times, everything's easy, and that doesn't lead to growth a lot of the time. So,
Well, it might seem weird to say this because it's not rocket science, but sometimes when you go through hard things, you'll learn something, or it's more like a needed reminder, like something that you know in your head, but maybe you don't really think about or don't really give it as much credit as you should. And then when you're going through and then you get that reminder, it's like,
that part.
and so kind of circling back to Tony had mentioned culture.
Yeah.
So I would say that in the midst of that really, really rough storm that we were going through in 2022, I realized where our culture was as an agency, and where it needed to go and be. And so we started having a lot of conversation about that and about, what type of agency do we want to be? I mean, obviously for the people we serve.
Right.
But if we're not healthy internally, we're not going to be able to reach our full potential as an agency so that we can help the individuals we serve reach their full potential, which is our mission. And so I spent a lot of time looking at what do we need to do to fix it? And really take a step back and be vulnerable to hearing feedback from people. I need to sit back and listen.
Yeah.
What are people's concerns? What are they feeling about the agency and as an employee, and how what it's like, to work for the board, and what are the struggles and barriers and all of that. I mean, we had to be willing to listen so that staff would be willing to lay that out on the table, so that we knew where we needed to do better.
Yeah.
And so we have spent a lot of time and effort into addressing those things and moving forward. And we still have a ways to go. I don't at all want to make it sound like we are there, and that we have achieved the end goal.
Are we ever there?
Well, probably not.
I think that's the actual point.
Where you always have to be growing and learning, right?
Yes.
But we definitely had a huge way to go, and we have made a lot of strides in that area. And it was really looking at, I hate to use customer service because I don't think of the people that we serve as customers, but I guess in a way, everybody we interact with is our customer, if you want to put it that way. Providers are our customer, our families are our customers. Internally, as I'm interacting with an SSA, or as an SSA is interacting with another SSA, anyone that's interacting with each other, that's your customer. And so how are you leaving people feel after your interaction? Maya Angelou has that awesome quote about, and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not going to pretend to say it word for word, but basically it's how people remember how you make them feel.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And so, I try to always think of what is it like to be on the other end of me? Mm-hmm. Do I leave people feeling valued and appreciated, and am I treating them with kindness, or are they kind of like, man, Michelle's having a bad day, and as a human being, I'm going to have a bad day, or a bad moment or whatever. And I have to be willing to, as a leader, I have to be willing to say, gosh, I got that wrong.
Yeah. And
I'm really sorry. And humble myself and really mean and be sincere about that. And I think when as the interim superintendent, that's what people needed to see from me is humility, and that I care. I want to help make things better. Yeah. I want this to be a place that we are all proud to work at. And so there was a lot of work with the culture, and I talked about some non-negotiables. So customer service certainly is one of them, whether it's internal or external. Leaving people feeling good and positive.
Yes.
But also mutual trust and respect. Without those things, it's hard. It's going to probably be impossible to achieve being the type of agency that we want to be for each other and for providers and the people we serve in our community if we don't have mutual trust and respect
So
with whoever we're interacting with.
Yeah.
Well, what you said just now, all of it is awesome. It makes a lot of sense, and a lot of people need to kind of, take that in, because that's an important part of a leadership role or anything. Like my only hobby, I'm a huge nerd. I love making like documentaries and stuff. So I'm a dork about all this stuff. So the hardest part of that, like what you said, is taking the feedback and you send it out to other people who are that you look up to or better than you, and you say, all right, what needs to be better? And you have to teach yourself to not take that personally, because it sucks when you spent 30 hours making some like 5-minute little film and someone's like, this part sucks, and you're just like, I'm gonna punch you in the face. But you want to, internally, it's like, do I want to be better or do I want to be upset about this? And you have to learn to like, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not always right. So I think what you said is very important. We're all always working on it. It's the hardest thing to do as a human being, is to take criticism, because we want to be right so bad in our core of our being. So with that, I believe you're pretty involved with the Community Film Festival. Is that correct?
Yes. Me personally, or the agency?
Either or, and all of the above.
So the board as a whole, absolutely. We basically, in partnership with Film Toledo, we put on the Community Film Fest, and it's such an amazing event. I also am involved. Yes, I the last couple of years I've been a judge of the films, and I go, and of course I usually present one of the awards, and just go and participate in the event itself. I mean, it really is a cool. It really is a cool. I hate to even say event, but it's a cool opportunity to just get out and have some fun for anyone, whether you are connected to our system or just somebody, Joe Smith community member who is looking for something fun to do. That's maybe different from what you would normally do. It's really a fun time.
Cool. Yeah, we're excited about that this year. Depending on if they need help, I might be helping with that.
Great.
Depending on,
thank you.
So
I'm going to try to get like a walkthrough scene just as an extra. So I just want to be there like drinking some coffee and just go, something like
we'll build in a fight
Video bomb.
scene.
Yeah, there we go.
So, yeah, well, we don't want to keep you all day. We know you got a lot of important superintendent stuff to do. So we really appreciate you coming on. What you had to say is, I think a lot of people need to hear. And, what you're doing at the board is very important. And it's really awesome, as Tony said, to watch things change over time. And, working on that. Your ethic is just be nicer to people, which is what is really important. So,
be kind. When you can choose to be anything, choose to be kind, right?
Yes. So before we go, is there anything, that's coming up that you want to add, or anything exciting going on, or just anything that you want to let people know about with the board?
Oh my.
A broad question about anything that's happening in life,
Yeah. Let's see. So March, I mentioned before, March is DD Awareness Month, or DD Acceptance Month.
There you go.
So we will be having a calendar of events. I don't even know what all we are going to be doing to kind of celebrate and really helping to move that needle forward of awareness and acceptance. But so be looking for that to be out there. I feel like January is kind of quiet, if you will, as far as board things. There's always Certainly always going out and supporting our Special Olympics teams. They basketball season right now, and I know they had a game last night. They got a doubleheader Thursday. And so just going out and supporting the basketball teams and cheering them on, those are always a good time. And our website actually has the schedule, game schedules and stuff like that. If you click on the tab for the Special Olympics information, I guess maybe I'll just plug our website a little bit. Going to our website. I know Nabil will be smiling at that.
Shout out to Nabil, awesome guy.
Yeah, he does a great job. So going to our website, we have a great calendar of events that just all the different events, whether it's even if it's not our events. So we've always opened it up that if providers are doing something that they would like kind of advertised, if you will, or put out there for anyone to participate in, hey, let us know. We'll put it in our calendar. So we have more than just our own stuff in our calendar. And even other, like the Autism Society and I'm trying to think. They're probably the ones that the most, the Ability Center, I know they send us stuff to put in our calendar. We are happy to do that. And so anyways, going to our website to look for information, to look for calendar of events. There's just a lot of great stuff on our website. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate what you're doing for the community.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
THS Remote Supports is clearly focused on improving independent living through dynamic and personalized services. Their systems have been carefully developed and perfected to ensure that everyone receives the best care through the least intrusive means possible. Located in Cincinnati, Ohio, they've spent over 20 years providing in-home supports to individuals with disabilities. If you or someone you know is looking for a remote service provider, go to thsrss.com or call 513-882-9088.